up with FM radio, vinyl records, and a bedroom speaker pushed almost to its limit, these songs may still be stored somewhere deeper than memory. Tonight, there are 10 of them, but no titles. You will hear the stories, the sounds, the chart, triumphs, and the moments that made each recording impossible to forget. Write your answers from number 10 to number 1, and stay out of the comments until the end. One familiar memory could give away the entire game. How many can you name before the final clue? Number 10. The first song begins on a rainy night in South London. Not beneath arena lights, but inside a nearly empty pub. Mark Knopfler had stopped to hear a small, traditional jazz group. The musicians were older. The audience seemed indifferent. There was nothing glamorous about the room. Yet when the group announced its grand, almost royal name, Knopfler noticed the beautiful contradiction. These men were playing as if the music mattered, even when almost nobody was listening. That scene became a song about dignity without fame. Its clean finger-picked guitar does not shout for attention. It circles, glides, and speaks in short replies to the vocal. In the late 1970s, when punk was abrasive and disco-filled dance floors, this restrained sound felt strangely fearless. It made an ordinary pub performance feel cinematic. The band's future changed because of a demo. BBC Radio London presenter Charlie Gillett heard the recording, played it on his program, and industry calls followed. The first British single release in 1978 did little. America heard it differently. In 1979, it climbed to number 4 on the Billboard Hot 100. A British re-release then reached the top 10 at home. The appeal was psychological as much as musical. The song honored people who kept playing after fashion had passed them by. Listeners could hear themselves in that pub.
Make it fast with the slow-mo thing.
Working without applause, holding on to one skill, and finding pride in doing it well. Final clue. The band was Dire Straits. The famous guitar was played with bare fingers, and the title gave a struggling pub group the status of musical royalty. What song is it? Number 9. This next record moves with the confidence of a man who has nowhere urgent to be.
Some people call me Maurice.
The guitar is relaxed. The beat leans backward. The vocal sounds less like a performance than a grin shared across the room. Yet one invented word turned the song into a mystery that listeners debated for decades. Steve Miller built the lyric from characters and phrases that had already appeared in his earlier work. There was the space traveler, the romantic outlaw, and a playful identity that seemed half musician, half cartoon. Then came Pompatus, a word that sounded meaningful even though almost nobody knew what it meant. Radio listeners wrote letters. Scholars and fans traced possible sources. Miller allowed the mystery to become part of the fun. Released late in 1973, the single reached number 1 in the United States in early 1974. It was proof that rock did not always need thunder, tragedy, or virtuoso speed. Sometimes a loose groove and a voice completely at ease could command the entire country. Then the record performed an even stranger trick. In 1990, a Levi's television commercial introduced it to a generation too young to remember its first run. 16 years after its American triumph, the song climbed to number 1 in Britain and stayed there for 2 weeks. Advertising had not merely borrowed an old hit, it had returned the hit to active pop culture. Why did it travel so well? Because it feels like permission to stop trying so hard.
Well, don't worry, no, don't worry, mama.
The record is flirtatious, ridiculous, and unashamedly comfortable in its own skin. Final clue. Think of the Steve Miller Band, a space cowboy, an unexplained word beginning with P, and a 1990 jeans commercial. Which song has that slow smile? Number 8. The opening pulse of this song feels like sunlight. A steady beat arrives. Voices answer one another, and an electric sitar adds a color that most rock radio did not possess in 1974. The group was Redbone, led by brothers Pat and Lolly Vegas. At the height of its success, The band's lineup drew from Native American and Mexican American heritage. That identity mattered. The musicians were not asking permission to fit one narrow category. They mixed rock, soul, funk, pop, and indigenous pride into something immediately welcoming. Lawley wrote and produced this recording and played the electric sitar heard in the arrangement. Its message was simple and generous, but simplicity was not weakness. The chorus gave listeners a place to enter instantly. You did not need to understand a complicated story. You only needed to feel the warmth.
Baby, find it. Come on and find it.
The single reached number 5 on the Billboard Hot 100 and spent 18 weeks in the top 40. It finished as the number 4 song on Billboard's year-end list for 1974 and earned gold certification under the million-copy standard of that period. Redbone became the first Native American band to place a hit inside the American top 5. 4 decades later, a man in a red leather coat danced across an abandoned alien landscape while this record played through his headphones. The opening of Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy transformed the song into a bridge between generations. The film's collection of 1970s recordings then became the first soundtrack made entirely of previously released songs to reach number 1 on the Billboard 200. Final clue: a Native American band, an electric sitar, and Peter Quill dancing before the adventure begins. What 1974 Redbone hit are you hearing? Write down your first 3 answers: 10, 9, and 8. If you have all 3, your memory is already working faster than the clues. Do not check the comments. The next record once took over an entire summer. Number 7. In the summer of 1979, this beat seemed to come through every car window in America. It begins with a hard drum pattern and a guitar figure that stops, starts, and pulls the listener forward. The rhythm creates unfinished business. Your brain expects the next impact, receives it, and immediately waits for another. That is why the record can feel compulsive before the singer has finished his first line. Guitarist Berton Aver developed the central riff. Singer Doug Fieger shaped the melody and words around a young woman named Sharona Alperin, whom he had met in Los Angeles. The writing happened with astonishing speed, and the basic performance was captured in a single take. Producer Mike Chapman kept the sound dry and direct. There was little softness to hide behind: drums, guitar, desire, and momentum. The response was immediate. The debut single by the Knack spent 6 weeks at number 1, became Billboard's top pop single of 1979, and sold gold faster than any Capitol debut single since the Beatles' first Great American Breakthrough. The album reached number 1 for 5 weeks and sold 1 million copies in less than 2 months. Estimates eventually placed the single near 10 million copies worldwide. Such speed created a backlash. The label promoted the band with deliberate echoes of Beatlemania. Some critics decided the group had been manufactured before it had time to prove otherwise. The Knack discovered that mass fascination can reverse into irritation almost overnight. But the beat survived the backlash. Weird Al Yankovic built an early parody around it. In 1994, Reality Bites used the song for an uninhibited convenience store dance, returning it to the American chart. Final clue: the band was The Knack. The woman on the picture sleeve was the real Sharona, and her first name is the key. Can you complete the title? Number 6. This song nearly missed the album that saved its band. Kansas had already rehearsed the material for its 4th record when Kerry Livgren arrived with one more composition. The group was tired, the schedule was tight, and the new piece demanded sudden shifts, unaccompanied voices, a muscular guitar riff, progressive rock turns, and a chorus large enough for an arena.
Don't you cry no more.
Livgren later described the inspiration as if the song had been delivered to him rather than constructed. The words came from a less comfortable place. He was searching spiritually and professionally. The band's first 3 albums had not produced the breakthrough everyone needed. The lyric became a private instruction to himself. Endure the confusion, move through exhaustion, and trust that peace exists beyond the noise. Listeners heard that message as their own. Released in 1976, the recording became Kansas's first top 40 single and rose to number 11 in America. The album Leftoverture reached number 5 and eventually passed 6 million copies in the United States. The single first became a million seller and decades later reached quadruple platinum status. Kansas says it remains among the most played songs on classic rock radio. Its second life came through television. The series Supernatural repeatedly used it around season recaps and finales until the record felt like an unofficial theme. For fans, the opening voices did more than identify a song. They signaled that years of loss, family, sacrifice, and unfinished destiny were about to return at once. That is the psychological power of this recording. It does not deny weariness. It turns weariness into forward motion.
Don't you cry. Don't you cry.
Final clue. It is a 1976 Kansas anthem addressed to a restless young man, telling him not to surrender before he finds peace. What is your answer? Number 5. This riff does not walk into the room. It charges. In 1977, Ann and Nancy Wilson were proving that women could lead a hard rock band without becoming decoration for one. Heart had already sold 1 million copies of its debut album. Success, however, made the sisters targets for an industry that often treated women's private lives as promotional material. After a concert, a male radio promoter made a degrading insinuation about the sisters. It echoed a suggestive advertisement their former label had used without permission. Anne was furious. She returned to the band and transformed that anger into a lyric aimed at the people who smiled, exploited, and circled when they smelled opportunity. The music had to sound like Pursuit. Roger Fisher and Michael DeRosier helped shape the galloping guitar and drum attack, drawing some rhythmic inspiration from Nazareth's version of a Joni Mitchell song. Anne's voice does not ask to be understood. It sets a boundary.
You have me down, 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 down.
The single reached number 11 on the Billboard Hot 100. Its album, Little Queen, went platinum and confirmed that Heart's earlier success had not been an accident. More important than the numbers was the emotional response. Women heard rage that was neither softened nor apologized for. Men heard one of the decade's heaviest radio riffs. The record crossed audiences without surrendering its target. Decades later, a United States presidential campaign played it because a candidate shared the song's predatory nickname. The Wilson sisters objected publicly. To them, the recording was not a generic victory anthem available to anyone. It had been written against manipulation. Final clue, the band was Heart. The title is the one-word name of a fast, sharp-toothed ocean predator. Which song is it? Halfway score check. 5 answers are now on your page. 4 correct means you know the decade. 5 correct means you probably remember where the radio dial was set. The next clue begins with the best sound a student could hear all year. Number 4. Alice Cooper wanted to capture the greatest 3 minutes of a child's year, the instant the final bell rings before summer vacation. He compared that feeling with Christmas morning. One gives you presents. The other gives you freedom. Guitarist Glenn Buxton supplied a riff simple enough to shout with, and producer Bob Ezrin made the rebellion larger by adding children's voices. The result did not merely describe release. It sounded like the doors had burst open. Adults heard something more threatening. This was not a polite graduation song. Desks, rules, pencils, and authority seemed to be disappearing together. That exaggeration made it perfect for young listeners. Every student knew summer would end. For 3.5 minutes, the record pretended it never had to. The 1972 single reached number 7 in the United States and number 1 in Britain. The album rose to number 2 on the Billboard 200 and sold more than 1 million copies. In Britain, morality campaigner Mary Whitehouse helped persuade the BBC to ban the promotional film. Alice Cooper sent her flowers for the publicity. The ban did not prevent the single from reaching the top. Even the packaging behaved badly. The album sleeve opened like a wooden school desk, complete with carved names and objects inside. Early copies placed the vinyl in paper underwear, an insert later discontinued because the material was considered flammable. Buying the record felt like bringing a forbidden object home. That is why the song became an annual ritual. Radio stations could play it on the last day of class and turn millions of private celebrations into one national explosion. Final clue. It is Alice Cooper in 1972. With a children's choir, a final bell, and an album cover shaped like a classroom desk, what song has just been dismissed for summer? Number 3. Many listeners call this song by the wrong name. They remember the repeated phrase about a teenage wasteland, but its real title came from 2 very different men who inspired Pete Townsend, an Indian spiritual teacher and an American minimalist composer. The opening also creates a famous misunderstanding. What sounds like a synthesizer sequence was produced with the marimba repeat feature of a Lowrey home organ. Townshend was developing Lifehouse, an ambitious story about a future society controlled by technology and liberated through communal music. He imagined feeding a person's information into a machine and turning that life into a unique musical pattern. The project became too complicated to complete, but this hypnotic pulse survived. Glyn Johns transferred Townsend's home recording to multi-track tape, and The Who played around it. Keith Moon's drums make the machine feel as if it has developed a heartbeat. Roger Daltrey enters with human force. Near the end, violinist Dave Arbus turns the arrangement into a frantic folk dance. The track was never released as a single in either Britain or the United States. It did not need to be. The 1971 album Who's Next reached number 1 in Britain, while FM radio made its opening track a permanent classic. That is an important lesson in 1970s music. A recording could dominate a culture without ever fitting inside the ordinary single format. Film and television kept renewing it. It became the theme for CSI NY. In 2012, The Who performed it during the closing ceremony of the London Olympic Games, turning a home organ experiment into music for a global stadium. Final clue. Its unusual title joins the surnames of spiritual teacher Mir Baba and composer Terry Riley. The artist is The Who. Have you named it correctly, or are you still calling it by that famous repeated phrase? Number 2. By 1975, Bruce Springsteen was praised by critics but still needed a record that ordinary people would buy. 2 ambitious albums had underperformed. His third could decide whether Columbia Records continued believing in him. So he tried to place an entire American night inside 4.5 minutes. Motorcycles, crowded streets, young love, desperation, and the conviction that one fast escape could change everything. The title track alone took roughly 6 months. Springsteen chased a modern version of Phil Spector's Wall of Sound, stacking electric and acoustic guitars, piano, organ, horns, glockenspiel, and layers of voices. He later described squeezing 72 recorded parts onto the available 16 tracks. The production is dense, but the emotional idea is simple. 2 young people look at a life that feels already decided and refuse to accept it. The single peaked at only number 23 on the Billboard Hot 100. Its impact was far larger than that ranking. The album climbed to number 3 and turned Springsteen from a regional phenomenon into a national figure. In October 1975, Time and Newsweek placed him on their covers in the same week. An extraordinary collision of attention that also created suspicion. Some readers wondered whether the excitement was authentic or manufactured. Springsteen now had to survive the hype his music had created. The record did survive. The album eventually sold millions, entered the Grammy Hall of Fame, and was added to the National Recording Registry for its cultural importance. Concert audiences made the song a collective promise. Age may arrive, responsibilities may close in, but the desire to escape does not completely disappear. Final clue. The singer is Bruce Springsteen. A young couple named Wendy and her narrator dream of reaching the highway before their town closes around them. What 1975 anthem is it? Number 1. The final song begins like a farewell and ends like a jet engine leaving the earth. Guitarist Alan Collins carried its chord sequence for nearly 2 years. Ronnie Van Zant initially thought there were too many changes to fit a melody. Then, during rehearsal, something opened. Van Zant shaped the lyric in minutes. A man loves someone, but the road inside him is stronger than the promise to stay. The arrangement continued growing. Roadie Billy Powell was secretly a gifted pianist. When the band heard the introduction he had developed, the part became essential, and Powell became the keyboard player. The long guitar ending originally served a practical purpose, giving Van Zant a rest while the group played several club sets each night. In the studio, that rest became one of rock's most famous ascents. Chord executives believed a song running more than 9 minutes would receive little airplay. A shorter single edit reached number 19 in America, while radio and concerts protected the complete version. The 1973 debut album eventually earned double platinum certification. The song closed Lynyrd Skynyrd shows, and its final guitar section became a test of stamina for both players and audiences. Then tragedy changed its meaning. The 1977 plane crash killed Van Zant, guitarist Steve Gaines, backing singer Cassie Gaines, and members of the touring party. When the surviving band reunited in 1987, they initially performed this piece as an instrumental memorial. A song about leaving could no longer be heard as only a restless man's goodbye. Its afterlife became enormous. Fans began shouting requests for it at concerts by almost any artist, until the request itself became a universal rock joke. Forrest Gump used the slow section during Jenny's terrifying balcony scene. Kingsman. The Secret Service later synchronized the extended solo with a scene of controlled cinematic chaos. In 2015, the Recording Academy placed the original in the Grammy Hall of Fame. Final clue, it is Lynyrd Skynyrd's 9-minute concert closer. First a ballad, then a seemingly endless guitar flight. The title imagines a creature with wings that belongs to no cage. What song is it? Now post your 10 answers in one numbered comment, from 10 down to 1. Also tell us which clue unlocked the hardest song. The rainy London pub, the invented word, the alien dance, the last school bell, or the 9-minute guitar flight. 8 out of 10 means your 1970s rock memory is still formidable. 10 out of 10 means these songs were never really forgotten. They have simply been waiting for the right sound to bring the room back. And be honest, did you solve number 1 before the final clue?